Hi, my name is Elvis.
My name is Julian, and today we're going to be presenting the Zika virus.
So first, we'd like to start with a little overview of the Zika virus. It's transmitted by mosquito bite. One in five people that are infected will become ill. They will see symptoms between 2 to 7 days. The illness is usually mild, and there is rare case of death. Some symptoms that they'll experience are fever, rash, joint pain, and conjunctivitis, which is red around the eyes. There's no treatment or vaccine available at this time for it. So go on to the next slide. So the virus was first isolated in April of 1947 from a rhesus macaque monkey that had been placed in a cage in the Zika forest of Uganda near Lake Victoria by the same scientists of the Fever Research Institute. A second isolation from the mosquito was followed at the same time in the site in January of 1948. When the monkey fever, researchers isolated from its serum a transmissible agent that was first described as a Zika virus. It was later identified in humans in 1952 in Uganda and in the United Republic of Tanzania. So that's brief history. Next slide. So what is the Zika virus? The Zika virus is a member of the Flaviridae virus family. This family includes yellow fever virus, West Nile virus, and Dengue virus. The member of the Flaviridae virus genus are transmitted by daytime active Aedes mosquito. It's also arbovirus. Arboviruses are a group of viruses that are transmitted by mosquitoes or ticks. So they're mosquito-borne, and the viral infection is spread by the Aedes species. On the next slide. So morphology. The Zika morphology is a non-selected, single-stranded positive RNA. The surface proteins are arranged in icosahedral-like symmetry. They're enveloped, they're spherical, and they're 50 nanometers in diameter. The RNA of the genome is about 10,800 nucleotides, encoding about 3,419 amino acids. In addition, like other RNA viruses, the Zika virus mutates as they spread throughout the population. Viruses enter the lymph nodes, and they multiply rapidly in the monocytes and the macrophages. Here we have a picture of the Zika virus. The Zika virus structure is similar to other flaviridae viruses, such as the West Nile virus. There's the capsid, which is surrounded by the lipid membrane with two integrated proteins, the envelope and the precursor membrane protein. So we'll go on to the next slide. Zika viruses have two lineages. There are two lineages with Zika viruses, the African lineage and the Asian lineage. So an example is Sponduini serogroup, which consists of Sponduini and the Zika. The recently preliminary findings from sequences and public domain uncovered a possible change in non-structural protein, condon, usage that may increase the viral replication rate in humans. And we have the prevalence and incidences of Zika virus. So from 1960s to the 1980s, human infections were found across Africa, Asia, typically accompanied by mild illnesses. But it became concerning in 2015 when they discovered Brazil, the Zika virus was causing birth defects in humans. In 2015, 2016, the large outbreak of Zika virus occurred in the Americas. In about 2017, there was a decline in the numbers in the United States. And within the last 2 years, there hasn't been any reported cases in the United States territories. And that's...
Okay, in this figure here, we have the historical timeline of Zika virus spread. Over here, you can see Uganda in black. This is the location of the first discovery of the virus in rhesus monkeys, along with the first human case in 1952, which occurred in Uganda and Tanzania. The dark yellow, as depicted here, depicts how it began spreading across the Pacific Islands from 2012 to 2014. And in 2015 to 2016, we see large outbreaks over here as the Zika virus spreads across the Americas. This timeline doesn't show what occurs after 2016 because there was a decline in the number of cases, as well as in 2018 to 2019, there was no reported cases. Okay, next we're going to talk about pathogenesis of Zika virus. The biological vector is Aedes mosquitoes, which are typically clustered in the tropics and subtropics. It could also be spread through sexual transmission, as it stays on the semen of infected men. Vertical transmission, where it could be transmitted from mother to fetus, and horizontal transmission, where it's transmitted from human to human, which includes blood transfusions or sexual transmission and organ donation. All right. This graph here depicts how Zika virus enters the human population. So the Zika virus originally started from primates, in which the infected blood was taken up by Aedes mosquitoes. Following by that, these mosquitoes have the ability to infect other primates or even humans. Once the virus is transmitted to humans, it enters the urban cycle, which involves the transmission between humans and urban mosquitoes. As mentioned earlier, the virus is able to be transmitted horizontally, so from person to person, through sexual intercourse and blood transfusion. And it could also be transmitted vertically, where pregnant women can infect their child in utero. Here's the distribution of the Aedes species. The blue areas correspond to regions free of the mosquito, while the red areas equate to 100% chance of encountering the vector. And generally, the colder northern and southern regions are free from the vector. Signs and symptoms. So Zika virus has 2 to 14 days of incubation. Majority of the human population are asymptomatic. In humans, Zika RNA is detectable in blood, typically within the first 10 days after infection. Following infection, an antibody and cell-mediated immune response is induced. IgM antibodies appear 9 days after infection, followed by IgG antibodies 2 to 3 days later. Symptoms are usually mild and last for about 2 to 7 days. These symptoms mentioned earlier include fever, rash, headache, joint pain, red eyes, or conjunctivitis, and muscle pain. Health conditions. So what brought Zika virus into the light in 2015 was the congenital outcomes of the virus, which was microcephaly, where neurological birth defects, where an infant's head is much smaller than expected, intracranial calcification, where calcium deposits were located in the brain. The Zika virus attacks and destroys brain stem cells during development, causing incomplete brain and missing parts linked with the following problems. We also have Guillain-Barré, Guillain-Barré syndrome, where the body's immune system attacks the nerves and it does increase with age. This syndrome potentially causes paralysis starting at the lower limbs and becomes lethal when paralysis reaches the diaphragm. Here is a picture with a baby with typical head size, a baby with moderate microcephaly, and a baby with severe microcephaly. In pregnant women, the Zika virus can cross the placenta and target and kill neural progenitor cells. These neural progenitor cells are responsible for neural proliferation, migration, and maturation. When these are killed and inhibited, this prevents the development of brain tissue. Microcephaly affects 5 to 15% of infants born to Zika-infected mothers. Treatment and prevention. There is no treatment and vaccine available for the Zika virus. The best way to prevent contraction would be to protect from mosquito bites. This includes wearing long sleeves, long pants, and the use of insect repellents. We also want to avoid areas with Zika. So you want to avoid areas which include tropics, subtropics, and generally hot and humid environments. Lastly, questions.